Everybody, it's your old friends out there, it's Russ, and welcome to another episode of the Best of All Worlds podcast, TV show, whatever you want to call this. Joined as ever by Jonathan, myself, and Jerry Soul, who are knee deep in our comedy arc, which again is not something we were expecting to do on this show, but you know what? It's been a welcome change of pace. All the same, from all the serious and dangerous and climactic and dramatic episodes we're now doing ones that actively take the piss. And you know what? Considering last week time out, Jerry, we did the Lower Decks episode, No Small Parts.
Which was great.
The comedy episodes have been low-key quite enjoyable and scoring quite high, all things considered, on our database. The Lower Decks is now third on our current league table, which is pretty impressive.
For a brand new cartoon Star Trek, it's amazing.
Absolutely. And that's, again, these are coming from people who would, like, you know, who are not new Trekkies, let's just say. We're classically trained in that sense. But like I said, we are going to change track again now for this comedy episode, and we are going to Voyager. We're going to head off to the Delta Quadrant because it's fair to say, Jerry, we haven't given Voyager our fair shake as of yet on this show. Like, I mean, the only one we've done really is a conspiracy episode, and it's kind of holding to the top of the bottom of the table at the moment. So it seems fair to give it a proper shake this time, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd give her a proper shake. Just like there's two series so far, because we haven't really gotten into the new Trek so far, and we do have a lot to get through. Like, I haven't watched any of the latest season of Discovery. I haven't watched any of Strange New Worlds. I have watched all of Picard, which a lot of people didn't like. I liked it. I thought it was very good. But in terms of older shows, Voyager is one of the ones that hasn't really gotten a fair shake. That and Enterprise, I think the other series, I think the other series have gotten a little bit more love from us, and for obvious reasons. Like, my favorite is Deep Space Nine, and it's always going to be Deep Space Nine. But no, I think it's fair to give Voyager a little dig out. Personally, for me, I think it is the weakest of all the older Star Trek shows.
I think it wins. I think it very much stutters after a couple of seasons. You know, it's one of those ones where I feel like a shorter run would have been better. But certainly towards the end, especially a lot of the filler episodes, it loses a lot of its momentum. So you can kind of understand that in a way. I will say one thing about Voyager, but I suppose my kind of snap judgment of it is that I remember the two-parters are absolutely phenomenal. Like, in a sense where, like, they rank above the highest. And I think, again, not necessarily going to say they're going to challenge in the Pale Moonlight or anything like that, but for double headers, if we're doing our own mini league at that, like, Voyager's going to rank very highly from two-parters alone.
I think so. Their two-parters were, as much as I love Deep Space Nine, I think their two-parters are slightly weaker than the likes of Next Generation. I thought
that would be a very fair assessment. Yeah.
Next Generation's two-parters are top tier. But overall, I feel Deep Space Nine is the winner. But you know, you've got a contender in Voyager, and the two-parters. I think one of the better two-parters for me was the Year of Hell. I really liked the Year of Hell.
You got Year of Hell. You've got Scorpion. You've got Equinox, which is very underrated.
Oh, it's great, great episode.
Basics as well, when they get marooned on the planet. I think that was the first one. I think it was. So, like, even stuff like that, I think, like, they require a lot more investigation. There's a few of the ones that really fall down the pecking order, but again, much like all two-parters, not all of them are winners. So, you know, we can, whenever we get to them, we will discuss them, no doubt. But yeah, certainly for Voyager, we're going to give them a little bit more of a fair shake this time, and we're going for another season 6 episode, because the last one we did was season 6 as well. This is the 4th episode of the season, which is Tinker Tenor Dr. Spy. And or as I like to call it, the Robert Picardo show, because this is pretty much what it is. Like, if you've watched any sci-fi, you've probably seen Robert Picardo in some shape or form. Like, how many sci-fi shows has he been on? Like, he's a perennial favorite of it. Like,
everything. Like, he started off on Stargate.
That's right.
As a very standalone one-off character that soon he came in more and more, and then he took over for the last season of Stargate Atlantis. And I thought he was fantastic in it. He kind of played a very Voyager Doctor-esque character.
Yes,
I think for some of his quirkiness, but I thought he was very good in Stargate, because basically this is a guy who had no knowledge of anything alien. And he's been right. Okay, you're in command of our furthest most outpost in the most advanced space station that's ever been built. And you're like, huh? I have to what? He's walking around wearing a suit. Wearing a suit. And then when he goes to relax in his room, he's wearing a suit and drinking red wine. So he's very much a man after my own heart.
Very much so. Very much so. So, like I said, we're seeing the best of him in this particular episode, because this is an episode about the holographic doctor and all of his travails. Again, one of the characters, kind of the data analog of this show, I think. Someone who goes through a very kind of like humanity arc, let's just say. Yeah. So and then 7 and 9 kind of has her own very similar arc like that as well. So we'll get into it as we watch the episode. But Jerry, are you ready to start?
Ready.
Right, let's do it then. On 3, 2, 1, make it so. In a land far, far away. Because we're in the Delta Quadrant. Again, set the scene already, just saying, it's the doctor having a little wander. Neelix! Wake up! It's good to know that not only it's not just the Enterprise crew, they get bored off their tits over these dramatic readings. This is a weird flex, but okay.
Like even 7 of 9 smiling like.
Jerry Ryan is very good at the subtle facial expression. Tupac is crying.
I love the fact that that's actually him singing.
Yes. Oh dear. Yes. We'll only be able to fuck him. Hey. So at this point you're thinking, okay, something's not right here.
Especially with the flowers.
Yes.
Hello? Maybe I better run a diagnostic on your hearing subject.
So yeah, like so this is the kind of there's a kind of few series of episodes of this where the Doctor is kind of doing stuff to expand his programming, I suppose, and this is one of them. He's one of the ones like the singing and so forth. There is, I suppose, the closest thing to a musical episode in Star Trek, which is what him. I think it's Virtuoso. I think the episode is called. It's not great, but it's a very Doctor-oriented episode.
He nearly leaves Voyager, doesn't he?
He does. That's right. Yeah, he gets talent scouted. Funny enough, but yeah, like stuff like that is kind of the vibe that you're getting from these kind of episodes. Again, much in the same way you have like Data doing like something like, you know, learn to fucking tap dance, or, you know, dating a girl, getting a girlfriend and stuff like this, you know. So very character-oriented episodes, which is where, like, especially in the later seasons, they rely on a lot because they're the kind of episodes that people want at that point before you kick into like actual overarching stories. And maybe it's me, but I feel like Voyager was very much dependent on it after a while because they just had nothing else toward the end of the season, end of the few seasons. They needed some kind of hook, and unfortunately, they kind of like expired the Borg stuff and everything else that came around. So, you know, I suppose you'd argue like a lot of the Star Trek shows kind of go that way anyway. But once you get to the 7th or 8th season, you kind of run out of ideas, and that's fair. A lot of people do. Still a wonderful intro, though.
Mm-hmm.
Again, fairly early CGI. It doesn't look that bad, but definitely if you were to HDify this now, you'd probably see the strengths, you know?
I think it would be fantastic if you HD this. This and a proper HD Deep Space Nine.
Yes. Still waiting on it, actually, yeah. Book me in, coach. Aww. Wow. He just wanted to go on a vacation. Oh, hey, look, there's Chakotay. He was a character once.
He was a character once.
He was, you know. They wrote stuff for him.
What was that, season 1?
Yeah, about that, yeah. The pilot.
Failure to acknowledge sentience, rude behavior, a request to be made captain and catastrophic emergency. Serious. Response.
Bureaucrats, eh?
Myself to address his demands, if the captain would prefer. No, I'll take care of it. I don't want anybody to be uncomfortable on this ship. Okay. Captain, he does it to himself. He's chief medical officer. Is it our fault that's not enough for him? Therefore, Stuart McLaren started to the bridge.
I'm gonna go and pat his little holographic head and say everything's gonna be all right. Budgie. They're all, again, I love that they're all trying not to laugh. It's like,
Yeah.
oh. Meanwhile, in the nebula of exposition,
Slippery bastards.
yeah,
Potato-headed
bollock.
fucks.
the bollock people are watching attentively through the nebula.
They look like potatoes.
They do. It would be perfect if they came in with Cork accents, wouldn't it? Hey, man, you watching my show? No, hold on.
Jesus,
hold on.
mate. What's going on there, mate? What's the doctor doing?
Yeah, do you want to buy a dog?
No, I already have one.
Oh, fair enough. I'm sorry. I had to ask. Yeah, Michael, stop playing with that fucking hacksaw and give it to me. The woman, thank you.
What category did I assign that vessel? Unacceptable risk, correct? And what was my justification for that decision?
You are a potato, sir.
Ship appears in none of our databases. Initial attempts to scan the interior failed. Then why are you wasting our resources? I think I can
Oh, can you imagine having to breathe through those prosthetics?
search and observe the interior one molecule at a time. There are other potential targets that must be surveyed. If I could tap into a data transfer code with my each their main computer code,
Oh my.
it would tell me all we need to know about their technical
Your exposition bores me. Continue on to the next target.
They may not like being spied upon. I think I've been very careful avoiding this. I'll take every precaution. This unacceptable risk. I've already transmitted.
Yeah, I do like the outfits. It kind of looks like what happens if you try to melt the Cardassians.
Yeah.
Say no.
No. Turtle.
The hierarchy around the bottom of every complete notion that you
Tell me your hacksaw is buzzing.
have approved. I'd better get started.
Cheeky fuck.
Oh,
You're too confrontational. He'll report you.
say it to my manager.
Acceptable.
Little
Yeah.
shit.
Lady prevents Conium runs right along the edge of the canyon.
Scans show geological instability within 100 meters of the target range.
I could put the fire down just outside of there. I don't know, Tom.
Oh, hey.
I don't think anybody wants him to be small.
Oh, God.
The fact that she does it with the one that has the eye housing makes it look even more jarring.
Yeah. Oh, here's the captain now.
Might try carrying a transport enhancer to the site.
Jealous energy.
You know, this mission is starting to look a little more dangerous than we thought. Maybe we do need the doctor to come along. If one of us fell to the crust, there could be injuries.
Assistance astrometrics.
What for?
It's none of your business.
I think it is. Oh. No, we can't. Maybe you should stay. Right?
The horny hologram.
Get away from him. You are dismissed.
How long have you been here? More than enough.
I think you're great. You made it on this ship. I'm not disputing that. But you're not satisfied either. I should. You should also know.
There is no limit.
But we all have primary responsibilities. Yours is sick bay. Multiple tasks. This proposal of yours to be made of what? What did you call it?
It's a fucking great idea.
Mhm.
I'm afraid the answer is no, Doctor. However, as part of my formal response,
Aw.
it's starting to assign the two dimensions to us.
I want them to be like a more violent, like bearded doctor to be able to go, I am the easy H. Sit down! Sit down! Go to warp! The fuck? Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the emergency command hologram.
Oh.
Trying to access their internal switches, get past the security encryption. So, I found something even better. A holographic code with Captain's knowledge of subroutines.
Uh-oh.
He can now monitor everything he's experienced. It's like having an agent. Woman.
To the
Captain, this is such an honor. But if you don't mind my second, I'm surprised.
I do love that the music there just does not fit the scene, because like they're doing the serious music when we all know you fucking idiots.
Holographic technology, and he is Voyager's medical officer. Voyager? That's the next mission. I'm observing
can you believe they have a cat boy as a cafeteria man? It's incredible. The soups he makes are delicious. There's a girl there, and she has horns on her forehead. You had to be there. The first officer, he likes boxing, and that's the only thing about his character. It's amazing.
Actually, it is very likely. The social structure on Voyager is much different than ours. How so? This is my observation post. I have a single function, but the doctor does much more than just practice medicine.
He does this thing that humans call bullshitting.
Seems to be an expert on everything.
Sorry, Tina.
The bridge. It was a very exciting.
I cried. I love that. They've tapped into his dreams.
Yeah.
That's great. To be fair though, impressive engineering to be able to tap into a daydream.
I wonder if you'd mind snapping a few holograms for people down there. What? Tell me something, Mr. Gibbons. Daydream.
No. Damn it, Jim.
You're feeling creative. Throw in a little ultraviolet.
Oh, Neelix.
We're approaching the canyon. I'm sure it is. Mayday, what's wrong? I'm taking us down into the corridor. There. I don't know what happened to them. I am never vessel captain. It's more.
Uh-oh.
Red alert. On screen. Battle stations.
Oh, hey, look, it's the movie First Contact.
This simulation virus has penetrated our defenses.
On the starboard. Reinforce the shield.
Oh, I love how this escalates so fucking quickly. I love
pips,
that. That is my
pips.
favorite part.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of this.
Shields to maximum. Proton torpedoes, full volley. Fire. Computer report. Enemy shields are intact. We are the boys. I know very well where you are. Stand down your weapons.
I do love that Robert Picardo is doing his best Picardo impression here.
Designation unknown. Watchalong. Doctor.
Oh, I think the Doctor has a thing for like immobilizing Tuvok. It's the second time he's done it this episode.
Yeah.
This is the last time I'm going to ask you. Stand down your weapons. Turn back while you still can.
It's the gurney. It's the...
Over my dead program. Editor, activate the photonic cannon. The photonic cannon is online.
And the candidate for it never happened award.
The readings, Doctor.
Where am I? possible for a hologram to have ADHD?
Probably. It is Star Trek.
It's the future. You know, I believe in it.
In his arm was something called a photonic cannon. I watched it destroy a Borg sphere in a single bump. No reports of Borg and this ranger.
Not anymore.
Did you check for debris? The ship was annihilated. There was nothing left for the sensors to pick up. The captain was disabled in the attack. The hologram is now in command. It's an impressive individual. And very attractive to the leader. We must at all costs try to avoid a direct confrontation with him. I recommend a Type 3 stealth assault.
Okay, fine. I'm going to allow this.
The hierarchy approves. Prepare for a stealth assault. Type 3. Scan for Borg. You don't want any last minute surprises. Or mistakes.
Oh, mistakes, you say. A rumph indeed.
Doctor. Can I have a word with you? I know I let my attention drift a bit on the bridge, but I assure you, kidding, that was incredible.
Ah,
Just wanted to congratulate you. It was what attacked Voyager again. Nice work.
Okay, Commander Chakotay. Commander Chakotay is in his quarters.
I am error. That's what's fucking wrong.
What were you trying to do?
Error 404.
Yes.
Cognitive projections. Daydream. Right? Daydream.
Aw.
Now and then 7. Why not the doctor?
So what's the problem?
It's not that much. Two or not.
They say a doctor who operates on himself has to talk for a patient.
Language, Ilana.
I'm sure you can.
Doctor and I are going to sick bay.
Any excuse to be alone with him.
Inflation is an unpleasant fate.
Is that a threat?
This is impossible. The warp containment field is failing.
And the promise tomorrow.
Over breach, 30 seconds.
The control link isn't down.
Warning. Warp core breach a lot sooner.
I'll give it a point just for that. Hey.
Doc, you're the only one who can help us.
Warning. Last chance to be a hero, Doctor.
Oh, they got Magellan Barrett in for that.
They branched into his perceptual subroutines. Doc, why don't we take a closer look at the Matrix then? What are you doing? I have to check the code. What?
Deactivates the program.
No, the damage is matrix.
I'm trying to stop you. Sick bay. I have to save the ship. I have to save the ship. I have to save the ship.
Dun dun.
New algorithms.
Oh, I love that.
So now he's taking.
Find myself.
I'm ready to send him to once. These fantasies. Children will consider.
Also, you have no idea what fucked up shit you're gonna see.
Mhm.
Sick bay.
Go ahead, Harry.
Mike, want to have a look at this?
Is it a cake? What a smash cut like.
Look at Harry's face.
Yeah, it's like oh no. Uh-oh.
Activate the emergency command hologram.
Nice. Oh, this one's fun. Look at the pips. So Barbara part of it is just hilarious.
Yeah.
No.
Go back to sick bay, try to isolate the help. Thank you for this opportunity, Captain. All I ever wanted was to live up to my full potential.
Aww.
Expand my abilities to help the people I love.
Aww. Pathos, there you are.
I lost the signal.
I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore.
Assault vessels are on course to join us. Accurate information is essential.
Get damn it, I'm a bureaucrat. I need red tape.
It's worth trouble. Clarify. Launching an attack in such a heavily armed vessel carries a great risk. And for what? Antimatter and some ability. Your survey indicated large quantities of both. We've already committed substantial resources to mounting this assault. Were you mistaken?
Don't you remember our pep talk about sustainability?
I'm just sounding a note of caution. Our boarding pass doesn't find Voyager exactly right. The hierarchy. I understand. There has been no mistake. Proceed.
After all, what's the worst that can happen?
I made a deal mistake. Location every few seconds it didn't seem possible. So I investigated a little further and monitoring his perceptions. I've been watching his dreams or his magic.
Oh, you big silly. It's like, I don't know.
But you're fucked.
Your fault, pal. Thinking. Doctor is pensively thinking.
He's doing just fine, Captain. Captain Torres got light to stabilize my matrix.
Oh, there. I've been what they call Barclayed. It's true, though. It's more or less the same thing. We're gonna get you a safe space where we can get all that sick, perverse energy out of you.
Status report. Federation law. Clear
Objection, hearsay. Nah, I can't get the hang of it.
Overruled.
Over. Ah! Fuck!
Shut up, you.
Also, Dan, I don't want them taking my job. My job barred overheard. I heard that, bitch. I know where you live, Chakotay. Scanning. Oh, I hear a daydream coming on. Oh no. Oh.
Congratulations. Doctor, may I please have a word? In a alternate era, I'm transmitting a simulation of myself into your program, but I am real. Doctor, the bridge on daydreaming again. Somebody deactivate me. Voyager is about to be attacked. Of course it is. Must the valiant doctor swings into action, right? Yes, please. I activate your cognitive algorithms. I put you back into this fiction.
7, please.
Wait for me to
Here, we're going to another daydream.
I'm listening. I'm a long-range observer on an assault class vessel. I scan passing ships for technology and raw materials. When I find an acceptable target, we radiate. You've been spying on us. More to the point, on you. For several days, I've been using a long-range atomic sensor to tap into your program. You were supposed to be our eyes and ears on Voyager. Instead, I got this.
You are the shittest double agent in history, Doctor.
My algorithms have to be stabilizing. My fault.
Oh god, I just realized they're doing a deliberately, like, literal sleeper agent story. I like that.
But you must do exactly what I say. I should want to help us. Don't understand. The hierarchy does not tolerate mistakes or misinformation. You learn to find error. I lose my mind.
I'll be cancelled.
That's what you get for being a people's mom. But I also care about what happens to you. I feel like I've gotten to know you over the past few days. It's fine, but my fantasies of me. You mean it all. But I know how your mind works, what your hopes are. You create all these possibilities. My species were very different. I can't help but admire you.
In fact, I love you, Doctor.
I want you to be calm.
I want you to have my babies.
My holographic babies. It's a potato.
Captain, we're about to be attacked. Alien vessels are approaching. There's nothing on the sensors, the vessels are cloaked. How do you know this? One of the aliens contacted me. I've detected no tradition. He spoke to me in a daydream.
I don't want to hear it. However, I would like to know why you disobeyed my direct order.
I can prove it to you. The alien told me how to reconfigure our sensors to compensate for their cloaking field.
I'm going to allow this.
We have 3 ships out there. 600 million kilometers. Headed right for us.
That's great.
Woohoo.
Maximum magnification.
He's happy. Now, the final act.
Unless we help. What if this is all part of their attack? The ruse. He's already helped us compensate.
Seems headed course away from your maximum warp.
Demands for supplies and technology. If we don't comply,
Awkward. Chakotay in the background going, oh, that's how you do it. Oh, that's cheeky. I should have thought of that one myself. Mr. ECH.
For my head. Sound like I did. Looking at the night shift. Sure was so big I thought I'd seen so far into it that nobody would be able to see it. To fall back on. Sounds like you've had plenty of practice. Might be able to daydream. Let's test out possibilities, right?
My God, I'm getting life advice from Harry fucking Kim.
Why doesn't Dirty Home have a good look at that? They did so quick. Okay, had for something.
Escalation.
Waste of resources. I even think that's necessary. What I think doesn't matter. You're alone.
It's what the hierarchy demands.
Under closer inspection, that appears to be doubtful. The report of this vessel could be mistaken. It's in order.
And Jenga. I'm here now, and everything's going to be fucked. What style do you think the emergency doctor should have adapted here? Do you think he should have stick with the Janeway, go for a Picard, a Cisco, a Pike, perhaps?
Yeah, the Janeway is good.
Janeway is good.
They look like right now for a whoopee cushion. What?
Thank you. Fucking Tom Paris and his obsession with us. Oh. Play it cool. Don't touch anything.
Captain, we're ready to proceed.
Oh yeah.
Do I have a choice?
Step of the way.
I do love that he's bricking it. It's gas.
Let's hear what he has to say. Hello? Voyager here? It's me. We're assault. Our base are frequencies. I able to help you. Basic maneuvers. 3 vessels are decloaking on the port bow.
Ooh.
It didn't feel like a warning shot. Direct hit. Shields are holding. The aliens. On screen.
Mm-hmm.
There he is. Be careful. He's dangerous. Hierarchy controls the
Hello.
region of space. Your ship has supplies and technology that we require.
Tell them we'll defend ourselves. We won't get what they're after.
We'll defend ourselves. They won't get what they're after. I mean, you won't get what you're after. Not in a million years. Not if I have anything to say about it.
Don't improvise, Doctor.
We have support nearby. You Cardiovascular pressure. They want to see the position. Firing phasers. Rotate. How do you like that, huh? A taste of your own medicine.
Tone it down, Doctor.
That was not nice.
Offline. Prepare to be boarded.
It's time. I'm shooting, Doctor. Tell
Tube
me.
up.
Oh, hello. Oh, he's angry.
Activate the photonic cannon.
Huh?
Tube up. Order. Activating the photonic cannon. Sir. I'm giving order to fire. My sensors are showing no activation sequence. Of course not. The photonic cannon is impervious to sensors. That's why they were destroyed. Look at the hierarchy. It's all listening to me. Just another bully who didn't know when to back off.
Hang on, let me scan. Let me check the hierarchy. Oh, we're going to VAR now.
The two of them.
Oh, fuck, look. I'm not getting sacked.
That's within pulse. Go ahead, Doctor.
Aww. Oh, look at him go. He's happy. It's almost like he was able to think on the spot.
That's 9.
Go ahead.
I require your
I'll be right there.
I will say the mobile emitter is the best thing that ever happened to this character.
Yeah.
Good God, like. Uh-oh.
Don't worry, Doc. That's the reason.
You still have dress uniforms?
For your management of defense of this ship and her crew, I'm awarding you the Starfleet Medal of Commendation.
Aww.
Fucking thing is tiny.
Yeah.
I'd like to authorize a research project for the command crew.
Ooh.
photonic gesture.
I love that you see the lap around them going, you see me again, I'll break your fucking legs. Yes, ma'am,
He
absolutely.
may be a hologram, but she could fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Oh, dear. That was a fun enough episode all the same.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was good fun. Again, a lot of it was Robert Picardo being himself. Like, it was great. So yeah, that was a bit of fun. Either way, before we get started on the scoring, we do all have our own little fitty bits to get to. I don't have anything for our shipyards, considering we didn't see much of the hierarchy ships, so we're just going to skip that part. We have 3 special guests to talk about, Jerry, and they're all from the hierarchy aliens themselves. Unfortunately, there's no repeat offenders in Voyager. These are all just one and done, so I'm going to rattle through them very, very quickly. First off was the obviously the 3 characters. So the big guy you were seeing there was called the Overlooker. He was the guy basically that was doing the whole, like, checking with the hierarchy, make sure can we go or not. And he was played by Francis Googie Gress Jr., which is a hell of a fucking name.
All right.
Yes, Googie, as he to his friends apparently. He obviously plays a character of what's known just simply as the Overlooker in the script, and he doesn't necessarily make any appearances in Star Trek, but he's in a couple of different things. Mainly Freakazoid is his kind of main bread and butter. He's a voice actor on that series, and he's also been in a couple of movies. He's been in Bloodhounds of Broadway, and he's also been in Apollo 13, amongst others. So I was also in the movie Armageddon. So again, various extras and extra parts and stuff like that. But certainly he's been in a couple of movies in that sense. Obviously, wouldn't recognize him under all the prosthetics, but that's where we are with him. Next up, then we have is Robert Greening, who plays the other hierarchy alien we saw there. His character's name was Devro. Again, didn't get much of a acting role. He was, I suppose, the more chicken shit of the three, I suppose. And he doesn't really again, not much of a Star Trek appearance as such. You'll probably, if you ever watch the show Parker Lewis Can't Lose, he is the character Mr. Lupin. And he's appeared in the likes of Cocktail and Gun Crazy, along with Beverly Hills 90210. So that's basically where you find him in. Overall, not much to say on him in a sense. The last one I'll leave then is the main character we were talking to, which was played by J.M. Leggett. And I kept him for last because it's quite interesting, because his character's name is Flux.
What?
Yes, as in Dr. Flux. Yeah.
Now, how is it spelled?
The same, PHLOX.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So obviously they liked that name when they made that episode. So they're like, well, let's save that for another character.
It is a very alien name, if you get me. Like, it is a kind of thing where you're thinking, yeah, all right, that kind of checks out, and it sounds phonetically like an alien name, you know. So I can see why he kept it. So he's played by Jay Leggett. Unfortunately, he died in 2013. He died when he was dead, when he was actually deer hunting. He had a heart attack, unfortunately. But at the time, he was an actor and an improv comedian, funny enough. He was on the sketch comedy series Living Colour, and he was also in the likes of ER, Ally McBeal, NYPD Blue, and somehow the Drew Carey Show, which is fair enough. So yeah, you might recognize him from some of that. Again, not necessarily from the prosthetics alone, but you certainly recognize him for a couple of other movies. Like he wrote the movie Without a Paddle. He was also in a couple of other TV shows. You probably recognize him more from maybe his stuff in those roles, like in, as I said, in NYPD Blue or the Drew Carey Show. But certainly that was the I suppose you would probably know him most from In Living Colour, if you watch that sketch show, which was Jim Carrey's real kind of breakout gig, really. So he was in around that time. So there you go. That's the three hierarchy aliens. Like I it's not any point going in depth with the hierarchy. They were very much an aliens of the week type of villain. They wouldn't even call them villain. They were just like, here's who we've encountered this week. So no real point kind of getting too deep into them. But I don't think there was much to them, really, in fairness. It was just like, oh, bureaucratic aliens. We've never had that before. And let's move on. So that's essentially it for this episode. So very light in that sense, which means we rattle right through the scoring, Jerry. And we start off with the plot. So, plot of this episode, in case you missed it, was the Doctor has accessed, or indeed has started off a daydreaming basically programming in his head somewhere, and it's gone a bit out of control, and the plot unfurls from there. Did you like the plot of this episode, Jerry?
I did. Anything to do with a Robert Picardo centric episode is all right by me. You know, he's a fantastic actor. The character itself is good. You know, he likes having his funny episodes. Yes. And there's one other episode that would be, I'd say, be on par in terms of comedy with this, and that's Message in a Bottle. And what a fantastic episode that is. Because obviously we had seen a lot of Voyager and all these new races, but it's nice to go back and see something familiar. Yes. The Romulans and a new type of Federation ship, and then of course there was like Defiant class and Akira class, and really good. So and him and what was the name of the actor that was playing with him in that?
It was Andy Dick, wasn't it?
That's the one. The team up between the two of them was absolutely fantastic, absolutely brilliant. So he's very good with his funny episodes. He does serious as well. He really does serious as well, but he's very good with his funny episodes. And this one for me was a particularly good one. I thought the plot was really good. You could really sink your teeth into this one because it's simple but entertaining. You know, it's simple, entertaining.
Fair assessment, actually. That's kind of the way I was thinking. It was a very logical plot in a sense where if you had the starting premise, you knew how it was going to end, and the middle kind of spoke for itself. So it didn't really go anywhere. There was no major twists, nothing like that. It was a fairly ordinary episode. But then again, it was meant to be. It was meant to be just a Doctor episode and had its kind of payoff at the end. So in terms of the scoring, like I'd probably give it a 7.
I was going to go with 7 to an 8, but I'll meet you at 7.
Okay, we'll go with 7 for plot then. Okay. Next up then is the setting. So again, we see a little bit of the Voyager. I think this is our first. Well, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen stellar cartography. But I suppose the only real other set that you can see is the likes of the hierarchy ship. And the one thing I did like about that was that it kind of felt very boxed in. It felt like an office space. How like everyone kind of had their little cubby holes, and like the main guy was more or less floating around as if he was the floor manager. I did like that little touch to it, very small, but it does come across. But overall, not much in terms of the sets, and they didn't do anything really kind of clever with some of the dressing as well for the episode. But then again, I don't think it was meant to. It was meant to look like out of context. It seemed to look like something was a bit off kilter or something complete, which makes sense in this one. It was cheap and cheerful. Kind of hard to put a scoring on it though, in my opinion, because it's quite tough to gauge what was good and what was not in that episode.
Yeah, it was. Voyager was just Voyager. There was nothing new to anything there. It was nice to see something new in terms of the hierarchy ship.
Yeah.
It was a nice set, small, but it was a nice set. I can't really mark it very high though, so I'll go a 6.
Yeah, I was thinking 6 myself, so I'm happy to go with that. Next then I think is for me actually one of the strongest there in this episode is the writing. Again, like I said, when you get a logical plot, the writing is very simple, it's straightforward, doesn't overcomplicate it, which is grand. It's a very fast watch as well, which I think is a very good pro in the writing category. Like that doesn't feel like a 44-minute episode. It rattles through everything really quickly, which again is saying something considering that this is again one of those episodes that's only an A story, so it just rattles through it real quickly and fleshes it out fully, which I admire. And I just love some of the lines in it, some of the little catchy one-off lines. I was a big fan of in it. Even slacking off about the pips, the even the stuff at the end there with 7, really good lines, very clever lines. So I was a big fan of that in particular. Again, I'd probably rank it quite high, in that sense. Perhaps one of the strongest of this episode. So I was kind of thinking maybe an 8 to a 9 myself for the writing.
Personally, for me, I have to say the writing was fantastic. As you say, some of the quirky little lines, even like the stuff when he actually took command and how that was written. You'll never get what you want. Sorry. That was that was great, So I'll go with you at 8 to a 9. Let's meet in the middle. Let's go 8.5.
8.5 it is for writing. And acting then, I suppose, is another strong category for me. How did you
super strong category in this?
Yeah.
It was a very much like a basic Janeway to basic crew episode. You know what I mean? So in terms of them, the acting was just their normal everyday routine. The people you have to look at the most would be the main guy from the hierarchy, who thinks he's at to get. Let's try this one out, and then he becomes enamored with the Doctor, and then he's like, oh shit, I've made a huge mistake. I need to try and fix this, and he's absolutely shitting himself. I thought his acting was very good, but just absolutely stand out from Robert Picardo. Just absolutely fantastic, from start to finish. Like we talked about a minute ago about the lines and the writing and how some of the lines are really quirky, but they wouldn't have been as good if it wasn't Robert Picardo doing it.
Yeah, 100%.
If you'd have given them to Harry Kim, wouldn't have been as good. Like you need someone like a Robert Picardo, like an Armin Zimmerman, like Quark. You need that type of actor to pull it off. I think even someone like Neelix. He could have done something like that. That's the type of actor that they are. Whereas Rob Picardo, he was just absolutely stand out in the episode. I'm gonna go 8 or 9 again on this one.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with the same, to be honest, because as I said, like I think the rest of the crew were fairly standard, but Robert Picardo, this was one of his episodes, so I'm happy to say that like because he was a star of it, he nails every kind of part of it. Because again, it's you say it's hard. It's obvious like from the start of the episode he's doing a virtuoso performance. Then in the middle he's being all command and bravado and blah, 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 romantic, being a basically James Bond character in a sense. And then towards the end, he's shitting it when he actually does get put in command. So he's gone through a full, like, spectrum of emotional situations here, and he plays them all perfectly. You know, like I said, I think if you had a more of a foil, I think it would have probably tipped this up to a 9 or a 10. But because everyone, I think it was the nature of the episode, everyone was normal. It kind of made sense to keep it that way. So I think that's fair. I think 8.5 is a solid shout. Next up is action. Bit of action in this episode, to be fair. Few kind of like choice scenes. Again, like I said, a good flow to the episode. I think it helps as well. But certainly the jokey Borg invasion scene, I think I'll be talking about it later on anyway. But that was a fun one. And the way that was...
absolutely, I agree with you there. The anything to do with the Borg, always great crack. The way, like even how the Doctor dealt with Ponfar Tuvok.
That was great.
You know, that was fantastic. And then defeating Tuvok again. Like I don't necessarily agree with the fact that he used a Vulcan nerve pinch on a Borg, because it wouldn't work on a Borg.
Yeah.
But it was quirky. It was fun, and it was, and then just give me an actual photonic cannon. Just give me
for a fact that like somebody in Star Trek Online now is researching that. That's the
buddy, no, it's in the game already.
Is it in the game already?
Oh yeah. These are the type of things.
You get back from the Delta Quadrant, you get all these crazy ideas, you know.
Yeah. So this is the thing about something like Star Trek Online, is that you can take any crazy, and anything in Star Trek is crazy. Like warp drive is not real, but it's crazy. You know, quantum slipstream, photon torpedoes, phasers, photonic cannons, cloaking devices. So, it's all crazy shit. But when you get something that only ever appeared in one episode, and it's the same. So that only appeared in one episode. You've got the phaser lance that was on the Galaxy X in All Good Things.
Yes,
that's in Star Trek Online. Yeah, that's in Star Trek Online. When the fans ask for it, and there's enough interest in it, the devs of the program will go, fuck it, yeah, we'll do that, yeah, absolutely. And they had the photonic cannon is in it. Now, I've never seen it, but I know it's in it. The phaser lance is in it. So many other crazy things. Like I play Star Trek Online, even if it's just for a few minutes every day.
Yeah.
And there's so many different ways of playing the game, so many different things that you can do. I think it's really, really good. But getting back on topic, the photonic cannon was a great bit of action. Unusual effect for what an atomic. It would look like lightning more than anything else.
I was going to make that point in the effects category. Yeah.
Well, we'll get back to it. We'll get back to it, don't we? The action. I was not a 10 out of 10 episode for action, but it was good. So I'll go 7 to an 8.
I think 7 is a fair assessment. I think
we'll go with 7 then. So
I can go 7, yeah, on that one. So yeah, effects. Then you brought up the photonic cannon, and that's certainly one part of it. Again, like initially I marked it as a negative because it was such a token effect. It was just like lightning and then boom. And then I was thinking to myself, well, the Doctor has never seen what like phasers and photon torpedoes actually appear like. So if you were to tell someone, oh, we have a photonic cannon, the first thing you're going to think of is probably like a big fuck off lightning bolt. So it kind of makes sense that he just imagines, okay, this is a mega weapon, I'm just gonna like throw in a point of reference of something, and that's what it is. So I actually quite like the kind of the thinking on that. In terms of actual effects, I think this episode is an episode of transitions for me, and I do kind of add them into this effects category because the way we go from daydream to reality and reality to daydream, I think, are very cleverly done in some places, because we'll try and take the shot of how the daydream ends and immediately snap back to reality. Well, there goes gravity. And you have and like the one that comes to mind is say like like I think it was a scene where where the Doctor is getting kind of like wooed by all the kind of the Janeway and B'Elanna and all them, and it ends with Janeway over his shoulder, and then immediately it's like she's back over the shoulder, but he's back in the room, and I just love small things like that, because again, small like those things actually do keep the flow of the episode going. Like this wasn't a stop-start episode. It only stop-started when it was cutting back to the hierarchy, which was fair enough because you wanted to see what's happening on the other side. And for that reason alone, I think I'm going to give a bit of love in the effects category for that. So again, otherwise it was a cheap and cheerful episode in that sense. Like we had one fizz bomb, we had one phaser hit, and everyone turns left. So it didn't go pushed about it that much in a sense. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go 7. I think on this one again.
I tell you, I'll go 7, and I'll go 7 just purely on the photonic cannon because I thought it was cool. The transitions that you were talking about, absolutely, they did. It was very subtly done, very well done. Even just the shots of the hierarchy ships. Now, would I've liked to see more of them, or a bit of actual movement from them? Yes, because it just seemed to be the same stock image every time you saw the ship. So it was in the nebula, in the backdrop was the nebula. Then there was 3 of them side by side, but it was the same fucking image just in the backdrop of space. So would have liked to see more of that. But no, I'll go. What do we go? What do you go? 7, 6 or 7?
I went 7. Yeah.
No, I'll go 7 as well.
Fair enough. Scored is a category I've got very little on in this one. Very because it was a very, again, much like the last episode we did of Voyager with the kind of music, they pick and choose their moments to kick music in, but otherwise it's dead silence, which I'm not sure. Again, we've gone past the fact that now that in certain aspects, like the Next Generation episode almost has a suite of music to itself half the time, especially through seasons. And in Enterprise, they come back to music suites like that, and it makes each episode feel more intense. So I have pros and cons in that sense, where like there'd be certain scenes where they're dead silence. I feel like, okay, maybe you could have put something behind it, kind of way to add to emphasize it. But certainly it's a case of like end of part sting. It's a bit of a box ticker for me in this episode. But if you have anything yourself in the score,
that's the one thing about Voyager, is that most Voyager episodes are, in terms of score, are very, very similar. Especially the first few seasons, they're very similar, and I think they just phoned it in half the time in the latter seasons. Now you do have your big 2-parter episodes or end of season episodes and stuff like that, so they will actually go all out for that. But this was just a very basic episode. It's not like the original series where every single episode had the exact same music, but it was how they used the music that counted. This was just a basic music Voyager episode, so I'm not going to go high with this. I'm going to go 4 to a 5 with this one.
I was going to go 5 myself, to be honest.
Okay, we'll go 5 then. We'll go 5.
5 it is. So then 2 strong categories for me now, and this one is a scene. Some very memorable scenes in this. Again, top 3 are the actual daydreams themselves. So obviously, Dr. Haven is kind of like, oh my god, I have an erection scene where like it's like, oh my god, they're all over me. Oh god, oh, this is so awkward. This is terrible. That's a bit of laugh, because again, it's letting it almost feels like an improv episode in a sense, where like, okay, now in this scene, A, B, and C are now going to be like this, and you have to act normal. It's like, well, I'll do that then. And then the next episode is, and in this scene, you're all having a party because you've been promoted. Oh, well, I could do that, So every scene, every daydream feels uniquely different. And then when they're switching back and forth to them as well, and again, depending on the magic of editing and how they cut between those two, you'd imagine that like you have to kind of get the tone right in each one. The standout scene is the ECH. Like the first time he does that, he reveals it, and again, he has the Phlox character going, "Oh my god, it's amazing!" in the background, just makes it top tier for me. Like it's one of the funnier, definitely one of the funnier scenes from Voyager for me. It's the pips, it's the way he starts like gurning his face out angrily and intensely. It's like, fantastic, I have to say. So I'm going to rank this highly. Again, kind of looking in the 8 and 9 category, but I would value your opinion on that one, Jerry.
To me, you've the 2 standout scenes. There's some really good scenes in this. The daydreams arguably are the best in it, but for me, the 2 standout were the the actual, the daydream of him becoming ECH, because it was so corny and it was just perfect. And then you mirror that then to when he actually becomes the ECH, and it's nothing. Nothing like what he thought. Absolutely fantastic. Robert Picardo was just stellar in this episode. You're going 8 to a 9. I'm going to go 9.
I will match your 9 then.
I will go 9 because he's so good.
Yep, absolutely. And again, I'm again, character I think is there's only one of them in this episode, and that was the Doctor. Again, we will always have a conversation when we do get episodes like this, and maybe there's a conversation for having an arc where it's just about character-based episodes in the future. But this is an example of one where let's just hone in on the character and flesh it out. Let's develop it. And we come to this one, as you said, after a couple of episodes where we've had stuff like this before, as you mentioned, Message in the Bottle, for example, which is probably the start of it, really. Those kind of arcs and then they do their own, as I said, the Virtuoso one, where they let Robert Picardo show off his tenor skills, and they're absolutely brilliant. And then I'm reminded of one where they do a sort of rip on the Data's trial episodes. I can't remember the name of it offhand. It's gone completely blank. Where they're trying to Bruce Maddox and Measure of a Man. And they do a rip on that, and it failed miserably, but that's fine. Some of these do fail. So it's certain ones like that. Again, almost every season at this stage was a Doctor episode, or maybe one or two. In the same way, like DS9 kind of reserved an episode or two for the Ferengi, for Quark, for Rom, for Nog. So they specified on the character at certain points. So especially with the Doctor being one of the more interesting ones, it makes sense to hone in on them. So they certainly get a lot of love here, and I think flesh them out quite a bit. So again, another strong category for me in this one. I'm looking at an 8 myself, but again, I'm happy to discuss the conversation.
I would. It's a weird one for me, actually. I'm going to go. What do you go? 8?
I went for 8, because it balances out the strong episode for the Doctor, and then everyone else kind of being on the sidelines.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna match 8 with you to see the Doctor, because it's always great to. The Doctor, I think, is one of the fact that he actually doesn't have a name. I love the fact that he doesn't have a name. He obviously he toyed with the idea of a name in I think season 1 or season 2.
Yeah, something like that.
Absolutely fantastic. So anything to do with it just a centralized Doctor and everyone else taking a back seat. Absolutely. Now, I love the fact that during the episode we're like, okay, we're centralized on the Doctor, and the Doctor gets a lot of episodes in the kind of season 5 to 7. He does get a lot of his own standalone episodes, whereas we talked about it, poor old Chakotay gets fucking nothing.
But it does also show you if you remember, even the Chakotay episodes were terrible. They were dreadful episodes.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like bad. They were very bad, and this is the thing about the characterization, the writing. Sometimes if you do have a good hook, if you have a good premise, you can do something with them. But Chakotay wasn't alone in that. There was very little on Neelix. There was very little on Harry Kim. Tom Paris was a Mary Sue by the end of it. Like he was a jack of all trades because he needed somebody to be that, kind of way. And he kind of learned the lessons a little bit for Enterprise, in the sense where, at least in the first season, they went out to try and establish each character. That T'Pol is the dry shite. Like Hoshi is a fish out of water. She's completely scared of her life in this sense. Tucker is here we go off space, and Malcolm Reed is British, and that's grand. We can work on that. But again, everyone emerges as interesting characters. Like again. Phlox was a very strong character in Enterprise because he had a good premise. And Archer, of course, was a centerpiece. You had the Suluban, you had all this other stuff. So things do have a bit of a pecking order character-wise.
Yeah.
The only show, funny enough, actually, that is doing very well in terms of characterization and given characters that fleshing out is actually Strange New Worlds. Now, obviously, you haven't seen the whole thing, and I'm not going to say too much, but I will say the bulk of the bridge crew gets time to themselves. And if it's not a story, it's like the B story of episode, and that leads on to an A later on.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, out of the main cast, you've got Pike, you've got Spock, you've got Lan, number 1, Uhura, Hemmer, the chief engineer, Dr. Mbenga, and even Ortegas, the helmswoman, they all get time.
She's getting a lot of like she gets a lot of chatter on Twitter.
Brilliant.
People seem to absolutely love her.
Yeah.
And she was like, they've just wrapped on season 2. Like season 1 hasn't even finished yet, and they're already wrapped on season 2.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, they obviously have a lot of confidence in these shows. Like Discovery, they've wrapped on season 5. They've wrapped now on season 2 of this. Picard season 3 is wrapped, so that's 3 shows that are wrapped. And now, as you know, we don't really know what's being made, but we know that something else is being made now, and it's in production at the minute. We don't know what it is. It could be this Section 31 show that they announced that they were going to do. It could be another centralized show, whether it be Deep Space Nine or Voyager. I'm kind of more so going with Voyager, because they've been using Kate Mulgrew a lot. She's on Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy, and she's also been
Robert Beltran in that. Yeah,
she has just. Oh, Robert Beltran was in it, wasn't he?
It's cameo. He's like he's the ship that they find stranded, the Protostar, I think it's called. He was actually the captain of that ship, but they don't know what's happened to the crew. So that they probably left on a bit of a hulk for the rest of the season.
You'll have him back, but it's like Kate Mulgrew has been using that. She's been used in Star Trek Online for their latest arc, which was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And she said herself, she was like, "Listen, I'll take the call. You know what I mean? You want me back, I'll come back." So, like she's been asked a lot of questions lately. Oh, are you going to be featured in Picard? She was like, I don't think, no, it's finished now, isn't it? So I wouldn't be in that. Maybe. The fact that you're getting the entire crew of the Next Generation is going to be in the last season of it.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we don't have data, but the actor, Brent Spiner, is going to be in the show. It's going to be interesting to see how that one goes. So all these new things, all these new characters kind of blending together with the old characters. I love it. So let's get back to the original topic on this. I'm going to go 8.
Yeah, with 8. Yeah, and like I said, that this circle back to my point. The fact that like in a show like Strange New Worlds, where they're outright establishing each character, giving each character something to work with, is learning from the mistakes of something like Voyager, where you are only really left with the Doctor and Seven and B'Elanna in certain aspects, and Tom Paris. They pigeonhole themselves in the character modeling, let's say. And this is where you end up with episodes like this. And not a bad thing as such, but again, you're struggling for ideas towards the end, like, which, let's face it, they were. So
like even you look at, again, I know I keep going back to it, but Deep Space Nine, every single character in Deep Space Nine was fleshed out. Every single character got their own standalone episodes in every single season. There wasn't a single season that you didn't have a Garrick episode or a Bashir episode or a O'Brien episode. I love those episodes.
The O'Brien, we will have an O'Brien arc. There's absolutely no doubt about that. The O'Brien must suffer. He must suffer. O'Brien. So, but even then, like, and yeah, it's exactly the point. Like, so yeah. Anyway, let's move on to our last category then, which is consequences. Again, there's no specific hierarchy. Doesn't exist after this episode.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit of a standard throwaway episode, but there is a bit of afters to this.
I think there is, because you have to look at it from a different perspective. The hierarchy was a very throwaway. You did see the species again twice, I think, maybe. Yeah. It was definitely once when they were in the void.
Oh yes.
So there was a crew of them in the void. So they were very, very, very throwawayish. But I don't think this episode was necessarily a throwaway episode in terms of consequences, because you have the Doctor wanting to further himself, to make himself better, to reach his full potential. And he's doing that in this episode. This will then lead to him actually being given the emergency command hologram. Yes. But he starts to get it when he gets that, though. He starts to get a bit uppity, thinking, "Well, you know, I'm the emergency command hologram. I should actually have command." And Chakotay is actually on the ship, and you're like, "No, Doctor, I'm here now. You're here for emergencies. You're no longer needed for the emergency." And he argues about it. So he starts to get a bit uppity, but it also brings into the episode where they're looking at holographic rights, and this one leads into that one, I think, because Voyager has given him so much, all this freedom. He should have been just an emergency medical hologram, and now he is a proper member of the crew. They're friends with him. They love him. He loves them, and it leads into that episode where they're talking about, well, the Doctor doesn't have any rights, and they argue that case, and then holograms start to get rights after that. So I definitely think it's not a throwaway episode. It's not a fully fleshed consequences episode. It's not Q Who type of situation, but it is absolutely does have consequences. The Doctor leads on, and then he leads the rights for holograms. Even if you go as far as the last episode, Endgame.
That's right.
The Doctor is completely mobile. He's out. He's married.
Got a name.
Exactly, has a name. So I think this episode does absolutely lead on to them. Is it a perfect thing? No, absolutely not. But I definitely think it has consequences. So I'm not going to go. This is not an 8 to a 9. I'll go 7.
Yeah, I think so. I was going to say 6 myself, actually. Funny enough.
I tell you what. I'll change my answer. I will go with 6.
Are you go with 6? Okay.
I'll go with 6.
Go with 6 then. Because the reason I'm saying that is because, like, the thought just occurs to me, actually, the other episode I actually completely forgot that is very big for Doctor's development is Real Life. The episode where he builds a holographic family, and it's all perfect. So B'Elanna goes, teenage angst, boom.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, that I think is in this kind of combination of Doctor's episode, that is a standout for me, because like I said, it's because it's introduced into the concept of real life, kind of way, where it isn't all perfect. You do have to deal with stuff on the fly, and as you said, it works on the certain aspect where you do get a certain level of him having to improvise to understand. It's not just an algorithm. You have to actually be on your feet, reacting to all this all the time. So that's kind of a reason for it. So yeah, we'll go with 6 then on that. So Jerry, the episode, you'll be happy to know, definitely scores higher than the Voyager Conspiracy. So it's representative. So it gets a score of 72 out of 100. Okay. So where does that end up in the league table, I hear you asking? So we'll go up in ascending order. So again, bottom of the pile is the Voyager Conspiracy on 59, followed close ahead by the Arsenal of Freedom 59.5. Is here we see the Enterprise incident on 67, currently ranked 15th out of our 17 episodes so far. Joint 13th is the Doomsday Machine from the original series, and Tinker Tenor, Dr. Spy, both scoring 72 out of 100. Okay. Then we have the Battle and Conspiracy ranking at 73. That makes them joint 11th. And then we reach into our top 10 then. So Space Seed is still sitting there at 77. Then we have Q Who, Cupid, followed then 80 and 81 respectively. Then we have the two best original series episodes so far, Balance of Terror and The Trouble with Tribbles, both at 81.5. Followed then by our top 5, which is the Andorian Incident and The Skin of Evil, both at 83 and 100. Lower Decks' season finale, No Small Parts, 83.5, currently sitting in 3rd place. And very much still out in the clear is The Best of Both Worlds at 90.5, and In the Pale Moonlight at 91 out of 100. So the one Deep Space Nine episode we have is top of the pile, which I think I can live with. All joking aside,
I can live with it.
I can live with that. I'm not deleting the episode, it's fine. So nevertheless, that does settle our episode for today, Jerry. And sadly enough, we are nearly at the end of this comedy arc, but we have one very important step along the way, don't we, Jerry? I mentioned Deep Space Nine earlier on, and I mentioned Tribbles earlier on. So Tribbles can be, tricky propositions at best.
Could they be troublesome?
They could be troublesome. There could even be tribulations at that, indeed. So we are going to basically we're going to go back to the past, and we're also going to the future in this one, where I believe it was for the anniversary of Star Trek Deep Space Nine did a very special episode, which was in essence a sequel to the original series, The Trouble with Tribbles. And I'm really looking forward to it because that is our next episode here on this show. Comedy galore. There's puns, there's jokes, there's remarkable special effects for the time. We've got a lot to look forward to in this episode, I have to say. And again, we didn't surprise ourselves with the Lower Decks episode, but like Trials and Tribulations is going to be a fun watch, and it might score high, all things considered, because it is a fun episode to watch. So we have something to look forward to, Jerry, for next time out.
I think so.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to change history to see that Brian actually did start the fight in the cafeteria. It wasn't Scotty after all.
No, it wasn't. I do. Okay, I'm going to leave that for the episode, but I love that bit.
Yes,
I really like that bit because I've never actually seen a side-by-side comparison of that scene.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they did it so well. So well. But listen, we're not talking about it now. We have to watch the episode first.
Next week first, exactly. So that should give you a hook then for the next one, shouldn't it? So yeah, there you have it. So that is what to look forward to, and that is Tinker Tailor Dr. Spy in the books officially. So do you agree with our scoring? Is it higher or lower than what you think? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And indeed, we'd love to hear any ideas you have for future story arcs and episodes you want us to review. Because again, we have some spicy episodes coming up after our comedy arc that I think you'll want to know about. So we'll get to that very, very soon. But until then, Jerry, thank you very much for your time once again. Always a pleasure talking Star Trek with you. And hopefully you enjoyed the episode as well at home. But until then, until the next episode of Best of All Worlds, as ever. Brr.